We are officially halfway done with the series. I've already talked about the top 10 bestest songs of every year of the 2000s decade. As you can probably guess, it's time to move on to the 2010s decade. And of course, we're starting off with the top 10 bestest songs of the very first year of that decade, 2010. This was a year I turned 11 years old, and I'm definitely very familiar with the music of this time. I heard most of these songs back when they were popular, and re-listening to them for this video definitely took me back to that time. There were a lot of good songs that were popular during 2010. In fact, as was also the case with 2009, while listening through this year in Hot 100 list for this year and writing down all the good songs and bad songs, my list of good songs had, I'm not joking, over 50 songs. Yes, more than half of the entire list was best list material. If I wasn't doing all these lists in a single series and this was a standalone video, I would have definitely had more than 10 slots on this list. There have been other years in the series so far that had a lot of good songs to the point where I could have done a top 20 or 25 best of songs list instead of top 10, but for this list, I could have seriously done a top 30, 40, or even 50 list. Of course, I still managed to narrow down to 10 picks plus 5 honorable mentions. So, let's talk about the songs I chose. A handful of reminders as always. Only the songs that debuted on the 2010 year-end list are eligible. Therefore, any songs not on the list, plus these 14 songs that also made the 2009 year-end list, are disqualified. If you want to hear me praise Fireflies by Owl City, go watch the 2009 video. On that note, I will be referencing songs I talked about in my previous best and worst songs videos, especially in this top 10 best songs of 2019 series. So if you haven't watched any of them yet, go do so now to avoid any spoilers. I will not be doing a top 10 worst hit songs of 2010 video, but if you are curious to see the songs I put on that list, here you go. Finally, this list is just my opinion. Please don't get upset at me if I talk about a song you hate in this video, or my ordering doesn't perfectly match yours. Feel free to let me know in the comments what your favorite hit songs of 2010 are. Alright, enough introduction. Time to talk about the top 10 best songs of 2010, beginning with the number 10 best.
We gon' rock this club, we gon' go all night, we gon' light it up like it's dynamite.
Like I said, I grew up listening to a lot of the songs on the 2010 year-end list, and most of the songs I'm talking about in this video are songs that I remembered back when they were popular. And we're starting this list off with a song that's definitely in that category, Dynamite by Taio Cruz. This is my second time talking about a black British singer in the series after Craig David. And like Craig David, Taio Cruz only had 2 songs to be year-end hits in America. And while Break Your Heart featuring Ludacris is a pretty good song, I think Dynamite is even better. This song came out smack dab in the middle of the club boom of the late 2000s to early 2010s, and it's a perfect example of a song that's both great for dancing to at the clubs, but also has enough appeal to pop listeners for the radio to blast. And damn does it want to make you want to blast it, because it is one banger of a song. Everything about the song, from the drum beats to the synths and the sticky as hell melody, feels specifically designed to make it stay in your head and move your body to it. Even the lyrics, which, while not anything super complex and simply being about going to the club to dance, makes you want to dance along as if you're the person narrating the song. The repetition of a single word on each line of the verses and the upbeat tune feels specifically written to make this a song that mainstream audiences would love. It helps look at the songwriting duo of Max Martin and Dr. Luke behind this song. This is my 5th time talking about a song in the series written by these two guys, and spoiler, it won't be the last. And while one of those 2 songwriters would end up getting mired in controversy a few years later, this song is just so incredibly singable and fun that I don't really care who wrote it. It's one of those songs that's just specifically designed to be catchy as hell and make you want to let loose. And thankfully, the song doesn't sound too overprocessed or electronic like some of the more EDM leading club boom songs during this time. Like I said, it fits both for pop radio and the club and doesn't feel out of place in either setting. It may not be the best song to ever come out of the club boom, even within just the year 2010, but it is a song that's certain to be nostalgic for anyone who lived through this era and remembers this time, like I did. Maybe it's not quite as good as a BTS song of the same name that came out a decade later, but it's still an enjoyable listen all the same. Like I said, this song is a certified banger, and it really bangs, just like Dynamite.
I'm falling to pieces, yeah.
Not every song that was popular during the club boom era was a club boom banger. There were a few songs that lean more into other genres as well that managed to shine through the club boom domination of this time. I'll be talking about a few of these on this list, and here's our first example of such, Break Even. This was the first song by Irish band The Script to be a hit in America, and while nobody as iconic of an Irish band as U2, they did still manage to have a few decent songs popular on this side of the Atlantic, and while Break Even isn't their best hit song, I'll be talking about that in a future video in the series, it's still a pretty good mid-tempo pop rock song. The acoustic guitar gives a sort of a singer-songwriter feel to it, but the drums and piano manage to hit a crescendo on the chorus while still not making the song sound too loud. There's even an electric guitar bit that sort of sounds like a siren here, which, unlike the worst hit song of 2005, actually sounds tolerable. Musically, it is sort of reminiscent of The Fray, but with less of a crescendo and a bit more folk-tinged. Break Even tries to feel relatively gentle, fitting for a post-breakup song about being heartbroken about your previous relationship. Your ex-girlfriend is with a new man now. You're wide awake, but she has no trouble sleeping. Her best days will be some of your worst. She's moved on, but you're still grieving. When a heart breaks, it doesn't break even. You're more heartbroken than your ex is. You're falling to pieces. I like how it's not purely a song about moping and being depressed. The choice to talk about how the other person in the former relationship is now doing fine does keep the song more lyrically interesting. Also making the song more interesting is Danny O'Donoghue's falsetto on the chorus and harmonization behind his voice. He sounds passionate, but he doesn't oversell it. I like how in the second and third choruses, the line, "I'm falling to pieces," is repeated 2 additional times, and he holds up the first syllable in the word pieces, while we hear 2 new lines sung as background vocals behind him. Again, that helps make the song more interesting to listen to even after getting halfway through the song. Like the previous song on the list, it's far from the most complex or interesting song ever, but it still does its job decently, and is still worth a listen. Not the song I would have liked to be the script's highest charting song on the Hot 100 or Hot 100 year-end list, but it's definitely far from bad. Without this song, I'm falling to pieces.
You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream. The way you turn me on.
I told you I'd be talking about at least one more Max Martin, Dr. Luke written song in the series. What can I say? They're both incredibly talented songwriters, even despite one of them having since fallen from grace. And here we have my first time talking about a Katy Perry song in this series. None of her singles from One of the Boys to Be year-end hits were quite good enough to be among the top 10 best songs of the year for me, even despite 2 of them having the same songwriting duo I've already mentioned. However, Martin and Luke really knocked it out of the park with this song, Teenage Dream. This was the title track and second single from Perry's sophomore album, and also her second best single from that album, hint hint. It might just be the catchiest song I've ever heard from Katy Perry. That melody is so incredibly memorable, especially in that chorus. Not only that, but the electric guitar line that runs throughout the verses and pre-chorus and drums really made me want to bob my head. It's got a great upbeat electropop sound that I just can't help but love. And Katy Perry is a pretty good singer too. She's obviously not as amazing as a vocalist as, say, Christina Aguilera, but I do like her performance here. Her higher voice in the verses, her belting a bit more in the chorus, and even holding out the word you in background vocals on the third and final chorus. She's definitely trying to sound expressive, which fits for a pop love song. She sings about how her partner loves her no matter what. Even without makeup, they still think she's pretty. Even when she messes up the punchline, they still think she's funny. They should go all the way tonight. They should run away, don't look back, and be young forever. She feels like she's living a teenage dream. And the song even gets a bit more risque, with Perry mentioning that the 2 of them built a fort out of sheets in a California motel, and that her partner should put their hands on her while she's wearing her skin-tight jeans. But yet it's still appropriate enough for pop radio to hear, and also not clash with more bubblegum pop sounding lyrics of the first verse. It definitely pulls off the vibe of 2 young people being in love and wanting to run away together, and continually make love. Honestly, there's not much more I can say about Teenage Dream. It's just an incredibly fun and upbeat pop song. It's one of those pop songs where there isn't a whole lot to say beyond it's super catchy and fun to listen to, and that's why I like it. I wasn't quite a teenager yet when the song came out, but hearing it certainly makes me feel like I'm living a teenage dream.
In that airplane in the night sky like shooting stars.
This is a song that, if you're a member of the cartoon community like I am, you may know more for the memes surrounding it than for the song itself. Just like how All Star by Smash Mouth has become inextricably associated with Shrek, Airplanes has become inextricably associated with Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic and Mordecai from Regular Show. Though unlike Shooting Stars by Bag Raiders, this song was already well known and at its most popular back when it was first released, as opposed to years later after the meme went viral. This is one of 3 songs by rapper B.O.B. to make the 2010 year-end list, and it's hands down the best out of all of them, and most deserving to be the highest on the 2010 year-end list, despite not being the one hit number 1 on the Hot 100. What makes the song so great? Well, for starters, it sounds a hell of a lot better than most mainstream hip-hop. The production sounds a lot more organic with its piano melody, electric guitar, and drum beat. It's a hell of a lot more interesting to listen to than the bland, sterile trap production that I've groaned at in my top 10 worst hit songs of current year videos. Also, the pop hook performed by Hayley Williams of Paramore is catchy and memorable. I mean, it did become a meme after all. The song does lean a little more towards rock than most mainstream hip-hop, so it makes sense to have the lead singer of a rock band sing it. And between B.O.B.'s 2 hits in 2010 that feature a rock band singer, I like Hayley Williams' voice more than Rivers Cuomo of Weezer on Magic. And then there's the lyrics, which very much subvert the cliche lyrics of most modern hip-hop. Many rappers often have lyrics bragging and flexing about being rich and famous, but on Airplanes, B.O.B. raps about how he wishes he could go back to a time before he was famous, before rapping was his job. He longs for a time before the partying, the fashion, the glamour, the politics, back when he was working at Subway and it didn't matter how much money he had in his bank account. Before he was famous, he wasn't rapping to stay relevant, he was doing it for fun, even if almost no one heard his mixtapes. It's surprisingly humble for a mainstream rap song, and B.O.B. is a genuinely talented rapper with a good flow, even despite some forced rhymes. It's hands down the best hip-hop song to be a hit in 2010, although it's not the best song to have rapping on it to be a hit this year. I'll get to that song soon. But if I did have a wish right now, it'd be for you to check out this song if you haven't heard it.
Died and made you king of anything.
Like I said, not every song that came out during the club boom era was a club boom banger. In fact, one genre of music that was getting some notable attention in 2010 besides electropop was adult contemporary. This was around the time that Susan Boyle unexpectedly blew up. However, none of Susan Boyle's songs were quite popular enough to be year-end hits. So to fill that gap of female adult contemporary artists in 2010, we got Sarah Bareilles. This was her second year-end hit following Love Song on the 2008 list. And while Love Song is decent, King of Anything is far superior. The instrumentation sounds pretty good with the underlying piano, the horns on the intro and chorus, and hand-clapping percussion on the chorus. We even got a little bit of electric guitar on the post-chorus. It gives the song a nice head-bobbing rhythm to it, while making it sound much less computerized than the rest of the pop of the time. I'll admit it's not quite as catchy melodically as Love Song was, but still got a nice sound. It has almost a jazz quality to it. That plus all the vocals on the intro and bridge are really what make this a better song than Love Song. It's a song that pop listeners can appreciate, but also has a light, easy listening element to it that fits for the kind of song you'd expect to hear in a busy cafe. Heck, the first line of the song mentions someone drinking coffee and staring you down across the table. And transitioning into the lyrics, it's a song about not heeding advice from someone else. Bareilles sings about how she never asked for someone else's opinions, and it doesn't matter if they disagree with her. Who died and made them king of anything? No one. They may have good intentions, but she has no obligation to just go along with everything they say. It could be interpreted as a part of being too pushy and constantly complaining about every little thing they don't like about her. It does remind me a bit of Love Song, since that was also a song about putting your foot down and saying you're not going to do what someone else wants you to do just to please them. You could argue that Bareilles is being a bit too dismissive and is unable to handle criticism, but it's not that bad. Especially since on the first verse, she says that she keeps quiet and watches the cars pass by, implying that she's not actually responding to what the other person is saying and is just keeping these thoughts inside her head. As a fellow introvert, I relate to that, and it's also pretty pleasant and certainly worth a listen.
Send to me for everything, not according to you.
I said that there weren't going to be very many more rock hits from this point on in the series. Mainstream rock pretty much fizzled out once the 2010s came around, and while there were a handful of rock bands and rock hits that got some Hot 100 success in the 2010s, it would never achieve the same level of success that it had prior. So it's definitely very surprising that right around the start of rock's massive decline, we got a pop rock song with a legitimate prominent electric guitar solo to be a year-end hit. According to You really feels like a fluke. It's a song from an Australian one-hit wonder artist that doesn't feel like what pop stations will be playing in America in early 2010, yet somehow managed to hit the top 20. But I'm very glad it did, because if it wasn't obvious from the fact that I'm talking about it on my list of the best hit songs of 2010, I think this song kicks ass. Lyrically, it's a song about a girl saying that her male partner thinks she's hard to please, moody, boring, difficult, has a poor attention span, can't show up on time, and sucks at telling jokes. But according to another guy, she's beautiful, incredible, funny, irresistible, and he can't get her out of his head. Basically, she's everything her current boyfriend says she's not. And she's very strongly considering dumping her current partner and being with this other guy instead. And I also love how on the bridge, she turns the tables and says, according to me, and cathartically repeats what her partner said about her on the first verse to describe him. Orianthe's voice, the upbeat melody, and lyrics do make it sound like a late 2000s pop song. I could have definitely seen the song coming out 3 years earlier and having an electropop sound to it. It would have fit in with that time, but the song didn't come out at the tail end of the 2000s decade, and instead of an electropop sound, it goes for a more rock sound. Now, it's not full-on rock. There definitely is still an element of pop here, but even most pop rock songs don't have a rocky guitar solo that you'd expect from a classic rock song. But hey, the rock song actually fits here just as well as the electropop sound would have. Orianthe's belting on the chorus gives her a lot of personality here, as she exemplifies both her frustrations at her current partner and her love of this other guy she'd probably rather be with. She sells the persona of the rocking chick with electric guitar really well, like Pat Benatar, though a more contemporary comparison would be Pink or Kelly Clarkson. But I think Orianthe knocked this one out of the park, even more than the latter two's most rocking songs. According to me, this song is awesome.
'Cause baby, tonight, the DJ God is falling in love again.
Like Airplanes, here's another song that some of you might know more for its meme than for the song itself. I bet some of you know this simply as a song that Captain Sparkles parodied as the Creeper Aw Man song. I just know that some Minecraft player from 2011 is way more nostalgic for that parody than for the original song. But personally, I prefer the original song. And why wouldn't I? Usher is an amazing vocalist, and he's possibly my favorite male R&B singer. And although he did release a couple of duds in 2010, like OMG, which was on my worst hit songs of 2010 list I showed back at the start of this video, he did put out a genuinely fantastic song with DJ God Has Fallen in Love. Like Dynamite, this is another song that came out smack dab in the middle of the club boom and feels incredibly representative of this time in music history, and everything about it just makes you want to dance along. The melody's infectious, the synths sound phenomenal, and the lyrics are perfectly designed for the club. Usher sings about being back in the club dancing, feeling relieved that the week is over, and feeling like a zombie coming back to life. It's definitely a song designed to be played at the club on a Friday night after a long week of working. It can really energize you and make you want to let loose and have fun after 5 grueling days of 9 to 5. Usher also describes seeing someone and recognizing their eyes. The music that the DJ DJ's playing is making him fall in love with them. They keep drinking as if there's no tomorrow, but just right now. And then we got the rap bridge from Pitbull, who, while not as much of a standout here as Usher, still delivers a decent verse. Certainly better than either of his 2 hits on the 2009 year-end list. Having a rapper does help keep the song more interesting, even though Usher could have definitely carried the song just on his own. I said in my best of song in the 2004 video that I will be talking about another upbeat dancey Usher song in the series after Yeah, and well, this is that song. And like I said there, he sounds just as great as a club banger like this one as he does on his slow R&B jams. This is yet another one of the songs where it's hard to articulate why I like it beyond it's super catchy and fun. You just need to listen to it to really get a sense of its partying energy. It's a must-have for any party playlist or nightclub, and deservedly one of the best songs of 2010 and even of the club boom as a whole. Usher and Pitbull, you guys got me falling in love with this song.
I'll give so much more than I get. I just haven't met you yet.
And here's another adult contemporary jazz-influenced song that somehow became a hit in 2010. And while Michael Bublé was already an established artist before this point, with a handful of songs that charted in his home country of Canada or adult contemporary radio, he's still not the kind of artist who normally crosses over onto pop radio. Similar to Josh Groban or the aforementioned Susan Boyle, he's the kind of artist whom, while certainly popular, has a rather niche target demographic, and whose music is typically restricted to adult contemporary stations. And unlike Celine Dion, he never had pop songwriters or a soundtrack single behind him to give him that crossover push. So for him to actually achieve such a crossover and get a song on a year-end list is a pretty welcoming surprise, and I'm really glad for that since this song is awesome. While Haven't Met You Yet does still follow the typical verse-chorus-verse pop song structure, there are a few things that do make it feel a little more different from your average pop song. Michael Bublé's syncopated singing helps to give it more of a jazzy, traditional pop sort of feeling to it. You can definitely hear the Frank Sinatra influences in his vocal inflections, which makes even more sense given that Bublé has covered Frank Sinatra songs before. I also really like the key change on the bridge and the instrumental bit with the trumpet. I can just picture a band behind Michael Bublé on the stage playing their instruments. And there's an outro where he repeats a few lines in the chorus with the background vocals singing Love repeatedly. Lastly, Michael Bublé really tries his best to sound like a heartthrob for any women in the audience. Not the teen idol heartthrob you'd expect him to act like Justin Bieber or a boy band member, but he gives up more of a charming ladies man sort of vibe, and he fits into the vibe like a glove, as he sings these lyrics about telling someone that he gives so much more than he gets, he just hasn't got to know them quite yet. In his own words, he just hasn't met them yet. He's had plenty of past relationships that didn't go very far, and kept coming up with a million excuses as to why, but he won't give up no matter how long it takes. There's hope in his eyes, as he believes that the person he's currently got his eyes on could be the one, saying that their love is going to change him. He never comes off as pushy or creepy. All the song's elements fit together so amazingly to make it one of the best hit songs of the year. If you haven't heard it yet, you're missing out.
It's a 1:15. I'm all alone and I need you now.
We're not quite done with the adult contemporary songs just yet. The penultimate best hit song of 2010, which is also the penultimate biggest hit of 2010, is a ballad that combines adult contemporary with country. And man, I couldn't have asked for Lady A, at the time known as Lady Antebellum, to have a song more deserving of being their most popular, since this is hands down their best hit song, and possibly their best song, hit or otherwise. Need You Now is a song that really invokes a sense of melancholy and missing your ex, and desperately wanting to fill that lonely void in your heart and overcome the pain. Everything about the song feels specifically designed for that purpose, from the faint voice of an answering machine at the start of the song, and the slow tempo with the gentle piano and guitar, to the minor chords that give the song a sense of aloneness, and the lyrics. It's sung as a duet between Hilary Scott and Charles Kelly, which was honestly genius, showcasing both sides of the relationship. I Run to You, which I briefly talked about in the 2009 video, also worked in a similar way, since that song was about a man and a woman running to each other to escape the cruelty and prejudice of the world. And here, both Scott and Kelly sing about how they can't help but need each other despite having broken up. Scott describes looking at photos of herself and her ex-partner scattered across the floor, and finally reaching for the phone. Kelly describes taking shots of whiskey to drink away his heartbreak, but it's not working, and he can't stop looking at the door, hoping his ex-partner will walk in. They both wonder if they themselves ever cross the other one's mind, because for them, it happens all the time. And on the chorus, they both sing about how it's 1:15 and decide to call the other. Even though they said they wouldn't call, they've lost all control, are feeling a bit intoxicated, and just need to be with each other again. As they say on the bridge, they'd rather hurt than feel nothing at all. Scott and Kelly play their respective parts in the song perfectly. You could just picture the two of them in separate buildings, split screen singing about each other. The song captures that lingering feeling of heartbreak and regret perfectly, and it really hits hard. No wonder the song swept the Grammys in 2011 and ended up getting certified diamond. I know the song was a lot of people's #1 best song of 2010, and truth be told, I really did think it was going to be my #1 too. But there was one more song on the 2010 year-end Hot 100 list that was even better. But before I reveal that song, let me talk about some honorable mentions.
I better find your loving. I better find your heart.
As much as I've criticized Drake in many of my worst hit songs videos, he did have a couple of genuinely really good songs, including this one, Find Your Love. It's one of the very few Drake songs where he sings the entire thing, no rapping. He sounds a lot better when he leans more into R&B than hip-hop. The melody's pleasant, the percussive beat, while not fantastic, feels unique, and sounds a hell of a lot better than the generic trap beat Drake's been using for the past decade. And the lyrics about how he's more than just an option or a number to a girl, and how he better find her loving and give all his love to her, sound sincere, and way better written than the mediocre or even downright crappy lyric being known for. Glad he gets some diamonds in the rough. Go give us a listen. You better find your love for it.
'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are.
2010 was the year Bruno Mars broke out with 3 songs on the year-end list this year. His other 2 hits were features, but this is his debut solo single, Just the Way You Are. Here, Mars gives us a pleasant piece of R&B and soul, where he sings about how his girl's beautiful and amazing just the way she is, but she's insecure and doesn't believe that. Call it sappy or saccharine if you want, but Bruno Mars' great vocal performance, the soulful production, tender piano, and uplifting sound really elevate it. If I was a girl whose boyfriend sang the song to me, I wouldn't be able to help but feel content with myself. Very deserving to hit number 1 and get certified 2 times diamond. This song is amazing just the way it is. Just like Airplanes and DJ Got Us Fallen in Love, this is another song that ended up becoming the source of a meme. Despite its title, this song makes me feel anything but misery. I like the funky production, and Adam Levine fits like a glove as he sings about a partner who's not returning his calls and giving him the cold shoulder, but Levine still remembers the sex and is longing for the feeling again. It works the same way the Maroon 5 songs like Makes Me Wonder and Wake Up Call did. Not quite the best song I've ever heard from them, but it is about the same level of quality as the 2 previous Maroon 5 songs I've talked about in this series, and nowhere near as bland as their more recent music.
I'm solo, I'm riding solo, I'm riding solo, I'm riding solo.
I have a feeling this one's an unpopular opinion, but yes, I do really like this song. Yeah, Jason Derulo's vocals are fairly nasal, and it doesn't sound as good in the chorus, the final 2 times he sings it for some reason, but I can't bring myself to hate this song. The melody is pretty catchy, and the lyrics are pretty interesting too. Despite being a post-breakup song, it's not about moping and being sad about missing your ex. It's about going out in the town, being relieved that you're finally free, moving on from the heartbreak, and just having a good time. Really optimistic spin on the situation, and it matches the emotion of feeling better after breakup perfectly. Though this isn't even Jason Derulo's best hit song. Hint, hint.
That's alright, because I love the way you lie. I love the way you lie.
Some of you probably were predicting I'll be talking about this song here. I've already talked about Eminem 3 times in the series already, and I am more forgiving to him than I am to most mainstream rappers. And while Love the Way You Lie isn't his best, his aggressive flow and poetic rhymes are still present here, as he passively aggressively vents about an on and off again partner who keeps coming back even after saying she's leaving. Despite the relationship being clearly abusive and unhealthy for both of them, neither wants to separate for real, and Rihanna's lighter pop chorus, juxtaposing the harsh rapping from Eminem, plus the backing piano and guitar, really made me love the way this song sounds. Okay, now let's talk about 5 more honorable mentions, except these are ineligible honorable mentions. These are songs that unfortunately didn't make the 2010 year-end Hot 100 list for one reason or another, but if they had, I would have definitely talked about them in the top 10 or as a regular honorable mention because they're really good and still deserve a mention. Let's go through my picks for these.
I'm halfway gone and I'm on my way, and I'm feeling this way.
Even though I've already talked about all of Lifehouse's actual hits in the series already, I did say I wasn't done talking about them in the series yet. And damn, I'm so disappointed this wasn't a hit too, as it would have taken You and Me's title as Lifehouse's best hit if it was. Halfway Gone is an incredibly bright and upbeat pop rock song thanks to its super catchy cheery melody, pop rock guitars, and drum beat. And this happy sound fits the lyrics about being halfway gone from a relationship. Even though both you and your partner are hesitant, your mind is leaving, and your partner already has one foot out the door. This song always makes my day brighter when I hear it. Check it out, but don't take too long.
When the mirrors and the lights and the smoke clear, I never guessed how we ever could have got here.
And here's this year's ineligible honorable mention that's by a Canadian artist whom almost no one outside of Canada has ever heard that I haven't already talked about in a previous video. I already talked about Mariana's Trench in the last video in this series, but I think Celebrity Status is even better than All to Myself. Like that song, it's a catchy upbeat pop rock song, and like Headley's Cha-Ching, it's one that satirizes the entertainment industry. This song specifically pokes fun at how fame in the industry can change people for the worse. Surprised a record label owned by Warner Music even agreed to release a song that satirizes something they undoubtedly do, but I'm glad they did. Really fun track. And here's here's another song by a Canadian artist that practically no one outside of Canada has heard of. I actually remember hearing this song a few times on the radio when I was younger, but I didn't know what the song was actually called. But I unintentionally stumbled upon and rediscovered it last year, and I'm so glad I did, as it's a really pleasant mid-tempo acoustic pop love song that, similar to a certain Colby Calais song, is about how you can't stop falling for your crush. Maybe it's a bit cliche, but I still love it. The melody and sentiment are really sweet. By the way, this song seems to have been removed from all streaming services, but thankfully, its music video is still up. I can't stop falling for this song.
With you I dance in a storm in my best dress, fearless.
Taylor Swift had 3 songs debut in the 2009 year-end list, none of which are quite good enough to make my top 10 best. Mine would have made it if it was the top 20 best songs of 2010, but in terms of Taylor Swift songs popular at the turn of the decade that are top 10 best material, it has to be Fearless. The final single and title track from her sophomore album is a really sweet song about the narrator's crush leading them to a car and driving down the road with them, and the narrator saying how they want to dance with their crush. Although they felt nervous at first, dancing with them makes them feel braver, more fearless. I have talked about better Taylor Swift songs in the series, but this is still good.
If I could speak.
Did you know the actor who played Ned from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide had a not-so-successful music career? Well, he did, and here's his most well-known song, If Eyes Could Speak. The breathy, John Mayer-esque vocals and acoustic backing give the song sort of a singer-songwriter feeling to it, and lyrics about being nervous to express your feelings to your crush and not knowing the right words to say to them definitely give the song the sort of vibe that'll leave teenage girls swooning. I've mentioned this a couple times in this series already, but I'm a sucker for saccharine acoustic ballads like this one. I don't care if that makes me unmanly. I love this song. And on that topic, let's talk about another really great acoustic ballad, the song that I decided was the #1 best hit song of 2010.
If I die young, bury me in satin, lay me down on a bed of roses.
You ever one of those songs you absolutely love, but that you don't really see on very many best of songs lists? Of course, everyone's got their own opinions, and while sometimes the choice for the #1 best of song of the year is near unanimous, there's always that one person whose #1 best of song of the year is not the predictable choice, and or doesn't align with the popular consensus. Like I said, I was really sure that Need You Now is going to be my choice for the #1 best of song of 2010, just like most other people. However, within the final songs of the 2010 year-end Hot 100 list was another ballad by another country trio, and the moment I re-listened to If I Die Young by the band Perry, I immediately knew that nope, this is the #1 best song of 2010. Like a few other songs I put at #1 in my previous videos in this series, it's a song that I know I had heard prior to listening to the year-end list it was on for the video I talked about it in, but it ended up being even better than I remembered upon re-listening to it. I'm gonna be honest, If I Die Young is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my entire life. I adore the song with every single fiber of my being, and I am baffled I don't think I've seen it on any other best of songs of 2010 lists. Maybe you just got overshadowed by the more commercially and critically successful country trio ballad I've already talked about? Maybe it's because the song was a lot more popular in 2011 than 2010? Then again, I've never seen it discussed in any best of songs of 2011 lists either. And I don't know why that is. I feel like the song should be just as critically acclaimed as Need You Now. Seriously, where do I begin when it comes to praising this song? I guess I could start off with that instrumentation, which sounds absolutely gorgeous. The gentle guitar, the fiddles, including the violin solo on the bridge, the banjo, the soft drum beat. This song is definitely tempted to go for a more twangy, bluegrassy feeling to it, and it definitely succeeded at that. Despite being in a major key, the tender feeling does give a slight feeling of sadness in it, which perfectly fits with the lyrics. It's a song about the possibility of dying young, and what that means for the mourning family you'll be leaving behind. The narrator says that if they do end up dying young, they want their family to bury them in satin, place their coffin in a river, and sing a love song as they float away. When they enter the kingdom of heaven, they'll be wearing white. They also ask God to turn them into a rainbow in the sky, so that they can shine down on their mother back on earth. Their mother will know their late child is safe in heaven when she's standing underneath the rainbow that is her child. Despite the fact that her hair hasn't even turned gray yet, she's still buried her child. If you're a parent with a dead child, this song will really pull your heartstrings. The second verse then describes being engaged or married to a boy who says that he'll love you forever, but forever might actually be severed by dying young. This song will also hit hard to any widowed people or people whose fiancé died before their wedding. However, I think the part of the song that hits the hardest for me is on the bridge, where the narrator talks about how their thoughts are worth so much more after they're a goner. And the bridge also contains the most heart-wrenching line of the entire song. Funny when you're dead, how people start listening. That's very true. Sometimes people don't realize just how much someone meant to them until after they die, and wish they had spent more time with them while they're still alive, and now feel more compelled to listen to what they said and take it to heart. Sometimes, people don't really notice or talk about someone until they die, which is unfortunate. And to top everything off, Kimberly Perry's vocals sound so gentle and sweet, as does the harmonization behind her voice. It's just a beautifully crafted song, and all the pieces come together so perfectly. Whenever I hear this song, I just drift away, and I come close to tearing up. That's how much I love this song. It struck such a chord with me emotionally that it almost makes me shed a tear with how beautiful it is. If I Die Young isn't just the #1 bestest song of 2010, it is the best country song I've ever heard, and one of the best Billboard year-end hits of all time, like top 10 best. Every other song I chose is the #1 bestest song of the year for any years I've already done bestest songs videos for, including the 10 previous videos in this series. If I Die Young is better than any of them. It's not quite the best song I've talked about, or will be talking about in this series. A handful of my ineligible honorable mentions are better, and there is one more song I'll be talking about in a future video in this series that's the #1 bestest song of its year that's even better, hint hint. But I can say with confidence that If I Die Young is the second best hit song of my lifetime. You'll have to wait and see what the #1 best of my lifetime is. But for now, If I Die Young by the band Perry is hands down the best hit song of 2010 by a country mile, pun intended. Absolutely beautiful song. Thanks as always for watching. The top 10 bestest songs of 2011 video will be out relatively soon. Hope to see you for that, and take care.